Hey everybody, it's Alex Joungblood from Wholesaling Houses Full Time. I've got Christian Marcel Marin with me, and today we're going to talk about some pretty cool things. One of the main things we're going to be talking about is disposition. Now, that's kind of an advanced word, right, when you first hear it, but all it simply means is getting rid of your wholesale deals, whether you're buying it and selling it, assigning it, double closing it, whatever it is. That's what is referred to as disposition. In fact, it could be one of the most overlooked things in a business. A lot of people are like, oh, I need to find deals. I need to find deals. I need to find deals, right? But when we talk about disposition, you're going to find how it can be almost as important, or if not more, as acquisition. So, Christian, how are you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for inviting me, man. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm excited, man, because we've actually met a few times. I came down to Orlando with my family. We spent about a little over than half a month in Florida, and I was like, man, this would be cool to meet some of the Orlando folks. And a guy out of Jacksonville, Dom, his name was, helped put together a really quick meetup just to shake hands with some Orlando folks, and you were able to come, and that was pretty killer. So that was the first time we met there, and that was a good little meetup. Good to meet people and rub shoulders and put faces or voices to the names of everybody in the wholesaling group in the Orlando market. So, and then the second time we met at one of a high level event you would call down there in Tampa as well. So we've kind of met and talked a little bit. So it's been fun getting to know you, and looking forward to this call here. So as you guys are coming on, just wave at us, say hello, thumbs up, whatever. Just let us know that you're here. And again, we're going to be talking about disposition, which again is a kind of advanced term. But what would you say, Christian, the term disposition means to you?
To me, dispositions really is just getting rid of the properties. But there is different levels to it. I have met, I think there's a basic level, a medium level, and then there's really advanced tactics that you can do to try and maximize it. And it really just depends on where your business is and your level of experience between what you do. I mean, there's some crazy things, like some of the things that we do, I would not recommend for a new person, because it can definitely bite you in the butt.
So we'll talk a little bit about that in the as we get further into this. But so what would you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into, or what you did before you got into the real estate game?
So I was born in Colombia, and then
born and raised in Colombia.
Yeah, up until about 7 years old, my family kind of was persecuted by Pablo and his people. It's crazy story. If you ever seen the movie Colombiana,
no,
it's my life story is very similar to hers as to what happened. So
wow,
yeah, some people's like, you need to write a book about your style, your story, but.
Wow.
I moved to New Jersey, and I lived there I was pretty much raised there until about I was 13. Then I moved down to Orlando. I've just been here ever since.
So you came from Colombia and moved directly from Colombia to New Jersey?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom kind of had to send me. I didn't see my mom for 2 years. I was raised by my grandparents and my aunt. Honestly, I didn't know if I was ever going to see my mom.
Wow.
Yeah, luckily she was able to get a temporary visa to come here and stuff. So.
Wow. And, what kind of as you were growing up there, did you guys live in a normal type house, or were you living in the apartments or something like that, or what?
My family just rented. Up north is like multifamily, so we just had the second floor. It was just us. It was 3 bedrooms, and it was my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, myself, my great grandmother. There's a lot of people living in this 3-bedroom apartment up there. So
Wow. And what county was it?
Passaic County. I lived in Paterson,
Oh,
New Jersey.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you moved to Orlando
Yep.
and grew and spent the rest of your time there till now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Moved to Orlando. Graduated from Lake Mary High School right outside of Orlando, and just been ever since. Once I graduated, I became a firefighter. And
Was that what you always wanted to do? You always wanted to be a firefighter?
no,
Did you have any business aspirations growing up?
not at all. Not at all. My aspirations was to be an ER doctor. That was my goal.
Wow. So you were going to go to medical school and the whole nine.
Yep, I wanted to go to medical school, but then I was illegal, so I didn't really. I was like, when I was about to graduate, I was like, well, I can't really go to college. I mean, what am I going to do? My two options to graduate were really join the military here in the U.S. or go back to Colombia. So during high school, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to school because it was kind of like, well, I'm not. How am I going to How am I going to go to school? And then two, how am I going to pay for medical school? So it was kind of like that road was blocked for me. And luckily, right before I graduated, we actually did end up getting our residency and became legal. So that was a blessing on its own right there. And
Yeah.
And so from there, I was like, okay, well, we still don't have the money. I didn't really work throughout. I mean, that came in when it was the beginning of my senior year. So by then, your senior year, my grades were, I was an average student. I probably could have been an A student just because I'm really good at test taking. I just didn't apply myself.
Yeah.
So I decided that I was like, well, I like emergency medicine. I love trauma. I love everything. I was like, I want to be a paramedic. So I started asking questions how to be a paramedic, and they were like, well, here in Orlando, most paramedics are also firefighters. And I was like, oh, man, a firefighter, it means I can get chicks and I can save lives?
Yes.
Perfect.
Chicks.
Awesome. So I was like, sign me up. And I went through the fire academy, became a paramedic, and I worked for the fire department for 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
12 years.
Yep, 12 years.
And what rank did you get up to?
I got up to engineer.
Okay.
I was an engineer for 6 years. So when I got promoted to engineer is when I found real estate. So by then my mindset just changed, and I kind of was like, this isn't gonna be I'm not gonna be here for a long time. So I might as well I kind of stopped really going up. But actually, when I started the fire department, my goal was actually to be fire chief.
Okay. So what made you stumble into investing? How did that come about for you?
So one day it was when the crash happened, our contract, we have a union, and our contract had us to continue getting raises. Well, the department, the county was like, oh yeah, we're not going to honor that. We're not going to pay you guys the raise. So we didn't get a raise for 4 years. And that kind of was like, okay, so, you guys are not going to hold up your end of the bargain. I'm not really making any money. I'm having to work another job, and I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, I can't keep working and doing all these things and not really make the money I want to make. I can put all effort, and I'm still going to get paid the same paycheck every single day as a guy that's not doing as much. So luckily I stumbled onto Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like the seminars and stuff, or the book, or what?
No, just a book. I stumbled onto the book. I read it, completely changed my mindset. Because I grew up in a typical Spanish household where it's like, hey, go to school, get a college degree, and that's how you're going to succeed. And that's pretty much what me and my cousins were all raised to do. Like, pretty much my cousins are all first generation college kids.
Okay.
Some of us have college degrees. Some of us don't have college degrees, and we're running businesses. But pretty much that was what we were all taught. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad came in, and I was like, okay, I've been lied to this whole time. I'm I want to get into real estate. I want to succeed and become a multimillionaire because I always wanted to be that. Growing up, I was like, I want to be rich. And I never really understood why I couldn't be rich. And I always figured that it's just, there has to be a way for me to reach it. I just can't be born, have to go to school and not reach my ultimate goal and what I want. And I've always loved the fast cars. I've always loved the houses. It's just like we were talking at the event. The one time you were asking me, and I was like, to me, that is success. Like if I don't have that, I would always feel like I've never reached it.
Wow. See, that's interesting, right? And you and I talked about that, right? So like, the fancy watches and the cars and all that kind of stuff is what you feel like that's where you've made it once you have those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is an interesting thought. And, for everybody that's listening, do you agree with that or not? Do you guys agree that you have to have a really cool watch or a really cool car in order to feel like you made it? And also, how did you guys first hear about real estate? Was it Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Was it this group? Was it something else? Guys, comment and post and let us know what that is as we continue this this interview here. But so how did you stumble upon, how did you stumble upon your first deal?
So I tried flipping. Originally when I was
flipping,
I was like, I'm gonna flip, but of course I had no money. Trying to explain to a Hispanic household what flipping a house is probably trying to explain how to rocket theory to a normal person.
Wow.
They just look at me like, what? You mean
you're crazy?
You're gonna fix a house and you're gonna resell it? Like they just looked at me like I was insane. And then I was like, everybody's, ask family members for a loan, take out I didn't own a house or anything. So they're like, take out a loan and everything. So talk to my grandparents. It's like, hey, you guys have a ton of equity here. Let's take out a line of equity on your house. I'll flip a house. And my grandfather pretty much looked at me like I was the devil. He was so confused as to what I was telling him. He's like, you want me to mortgage my house? That's not happening.
Wow.
So from that, I kept trying. I stumbled into wholesaling, reading Bigger Pockets, reading different things. Hold on a second. Let me just connect my computers.
Sure. Yeah, we don't want to lose you. Yeah, a lot of people think, with their first deal getting to real estate is just buying and flipping a house or something along those lines. So they have to have money, a bunch of money to buy a house and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people get in trouble because they may, buy a rental for a really high price and there's no equity and then the market goes down and then it's a mess. Or they might buy a rehab project because they really want it so bad and now they got a mess that they can't handle and all that kind of stuff, right? But then you were saying you stumbled into wholesaling. So how did you stumble into wholesaling?
So, from reading like Bigger Pockets, everything, I understood what wholesaling was. And so I tried doing it on my own, watching YouTube videos, this here, but I didn't really have a lot of money. Again, I had gotten separated and I had child support and everything, and I had no raise, So I kept trying to figure out how to do it. I got my real estate license. I was like, okay, well, maybe if I'm a real estate agent and then I go ahead and sell some houses, I can build up a lot of income and then I can flip a house. Started doing regular real estate, absolutely hated it.
Like with a license or like an attorney? I'm sorry, like a real estate broker?
Yeah. So I got my real estate license and I started working for Keller. I went with Keller Williams and I was trying to start doing regular real estate, and I hated it. I was like, this isn't for me. I really don't care about your what you think your flowers are nice and that's the value of your house. I was like, I want to do investment real estate. And then one day actually on Craigslist, I stumbled on an ad for another wholesaler looking for agents to join their wholesaling brokerage.
Ah, interesting.
I send in my application. I put in my resume, and they contacted me. It came in, and they're like, "Oh, this is what we do. We get properties under contract, and then we mark it up and resell it to an investor who buys it cash." I was like, "So you're wholesaling?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh my god, I've been trying to do this forever. What do I got to do?" They're like,
You're
okay,
like the employee that nobody wants to hire because you're going to run away and do it yourself.
And the funny thing is, I don't hire people anymore. If you tell me you want to do wholesaling, you're not getting hired in my company. That's how it started. It's just I laugh about it too sometimes too, because I'm like, man, I wouldn't give myself an opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But there's different reasons for that, and I've learned, I've been burned, so that's why I've changed my mindset on that. But so they were like, I was like, okay, so what do I got to do? And they're like, okay, well, you're gonna start in dispositions, and you got to put out these bandit signs. And I was like, all right.
Put out these bandit signs.
They're like, we provide you the bandit signs, so you got to put out 100 signs a week. I was like, that's it? And they're like, yeah. So I literally was putting out 200 signs a week, just building up my buyers list. Just
wow,
buyers. And so they had properties. They were one of the biggest wholesaling companies in Orlando. So they were doing about 15 at the time, 15 to 30 deals a month. And so I had plenty of inventory. So I was just doing signs. Me and my wife will drive out at night. She drive, and who was my girl?
Man.
She drive, and I get out. I put the signs, and I was like, and I built up my buyers list really quick. Took me about a month and a half, and I got my first sale.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That anybody else on here done the midnight bandit sign run? I mean, back in the day, I did that for sellers. We'd go out at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had these bandit signs that I'd put together and put them on telephone poles. And you're like looking around real quick, and the cops anywhere, and then quick, run to the car, run, go.
I've had it where I put the sign as I'm running back to the cop. They put their spotlight on me, and they're like, "Hey, go pick up that sign." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even see you there." I was like, "Yes, sir."
Wow, so this is bandit signs for buyers, not for sellers. Yeah. So that's interesting. So anybody that's listening, are you guys doing bandit signs for buyers or bandit signs for sellers? Just let us know in the comments. But that's funny. So you got so you're building your buyers list. These people are actually calling you, not the brokerage. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, correct. They were calling me, and it was so each agent had their own buyers list.
Okay.
Individually. So it was my buyers list, and I built the relationships with them. And so it took me a month and a half to get a sale. The next week I sold 2 houses.
Wow.
And from there on, it was just snowballing. So one thing here in Orlando is that it's changing now, but the majority of the bigger wholesalers were all doing off the MLS. So all our inventory was from MLS deals.
Okay.
So I quickly was like,
so they were buying deals off the MLS, and then you were selling them to off the MLS. Is that what you're telling me?
So we were getting them under contract from the MLS, and then we go ahead and we find a buyer, and we double close on it or assign it, but at the same time.
So that's an interesting model, right? Because why didn't these buyers in the first place go to the MLS to get these deals? What's your thought there?
So I tell my guys, a lot of times these buyers have other jobs. They do other things. They might be working with a realtor that just doesn't know what, a lot of realtors don't know how investment works and get people into a lot of deals. Just because you have a real estate license doesn't mean you know how to analyze a property. So, but a lot of them do have jobs, and they just don't have time to go look at all these properties. So one thing we do is they sign up and they get these properties laid out and shows the numbers for them, and then they can quickly say, "Oh yeah, these looks good. I want to go ahead and see it," and stuff like that. So even though it's on the MLS, and back then on the MLS we had so much inventory.
Wow.
So much inventory.
Wow, interesting. So you built your buyers list at that point, and from there you were just starting to do deals, and you're like, okay, when did you decide to go full time, or for purposes of this group, when did you decide to wholesale houses full time?
So I 2 years later. So I was there with the company for 2 years. Well, I was there for with the company for a year. I actually decided I wanted to. I went through. I got Sean Terry's course because again we didn't do anything off market, and I wanted. And I started noticing that it was kind of harder to find deals on the MLS, so I wanted to do off market. So I went through his course, learned it. Now I had the month. I had some money, and I started doing some marketing on my own. And I got a deal, made $20K, and I was like, oh, I got this. I know how to do this. I'm out. I'm doing this on my own. And I love it.
Because what were you getting paid on the disposition side when you were working as an employee, essentially?
So they paid 25% of the spread.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's actually really high. So, but now, what was the spread on these deals normally?
So my average spread was around 9,000.
So like $2,500, like $2,200 is.
Yeah, $2,200 was my average commission. Let me say, so my first year there, I made $112,000 in commissions.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool.
And I started in March.
Okay. And this was all deals that they provided off the MLS.
Correct. Yep.
So you did, after that, you did really well with that, and then you did your first deal for like 20K or 25K. Or when did you do your first deal? All right, so you were doing these deals, right? What was your first deal from the point of wholesale deal when you were actually getting the deal and dispositioning it yourself? You were on both ends, both sides of it. When was that?
So that was about a year into the company when I was there. A year in, that's when I went through the Sean Terry. I started doing direct mail and everything, and then I got a seller that wanted to sell it, and I was like, oh man, $20,000.
So what was the seller's motivation to sell, and where did it come from? A direct mail piece?
Yeah, so it came from a direct mail piece. He
to what list?
Absentee.
Just a straight up absentee.
Yep, it was a duplex. It was a duplex, and he just wanted to liquidate. He didn't want to deal with it anymore, so he just wanted to sell. Actually, I don't know
how many pieces to get that?
Huh?
How many pieces did you send out to get that in that mailer?
I mean, it wasn't a lot. I was only sending about 1,000 a month.
Yeah. Wow.
It wasn't really a lot. I was testing the water. Honestly, I didn't know what I was doing.
Was it a laydown? Was it like, here, I want to sell it for this? Or how did you come up with the offer price and all that?
So yeah, so when he called in, he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for $69,000 for the property," and I was like, "Okay, great." So I'm really good at running comps because I was an acquisition. So
yeah,
I was only on the disposition side for about 3 months, and then after that, they moved me over to acquisition. So I was sending out offers on the MLS constantly, and so I became.
So you actually did both, yeah.
Yeah. I did both, and acquisitions became like my strong suit, and I became really good at analyzing properties. I mean, I would analyze about 20, 25 deals on the MLS daily, and send out about 10 to 15 offers to properties. So he said he wanted 69. I looked at it based on a rental. He was getting $1,200 from each side. So I was like, oh man, this is awesome.
Occupied both sides.
Yep, both sides were occupied. We recently replaced the roof. It didn't need a lot of repairs. And the guys that I worked for, they were flippers. So they taught me a lot about rehab and how to analyze, walking through a property, what to look for, how much everything's going to cost. So honestly, working for them was one of the best things I could do. It was a free mentorship,
Yeah, essentially, yeah. You got paid to be mentored.
Exactly. And so then I looked at it and I was like, oh man, I can quickly sell this for $89,000. So I locked it up and put $20,000 on it, and we sold it in about 2 hours.
Wow. And then you're like, I'm out.
I'm balling. I was like, I got this. I know how to do this. But like I said, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have a script. I didn't really track anything. I was just sending out mailers and answering the phone. And then just
that's what it comes down to. Getting your first deal is taking that massive action to start. You decide, you know what, I'm going to get into this real estate thing. I'm going to be serious. I'm going to be a real investor. I'm going to really go for this. And you put out the marketing, whether you're sending mailers out, whether you're doing online marketing or just picking up the phone and calling, small niche lists type things and going out there and making it happen. And that's exactly what you did. And, and it paid off. And then from there, you start to systematize and put things together and really make a business out of this instead of being, you're that one trick pony kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So once I did that, I was like, I'm out. I'm gonna do it myself. I tried doing it on myself, but like I said, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had no script. I didn't know how to track any data. I had no business training whatsoever. I've never had a business class. I think the most business I've ever had, it was macroeconomics in high school, and I ignored it. That's literally the most financial training I had. So I thought I got $20,000 in the bank. I was like, I'm gonna kill it with this.
You're like, yeah.
So I ran through that money quick, and I sent out marketing, and I didn't even know. I kind of knew what list I was pulling, but I didn't have any systems. I didn't have a CRM. I wasn't tracking anything. And that money quickly.
It's funny how fast 20 grand goes, isn't it? Everybody's like, man, if only I had $20,000 in the bank. But it's just it goes so fast. And it's so important. Once you do get that first deal, right? And let's say you make a chunk, it's really important to get some training at that point to understand what you're doing, because you could literally blow through it and now it's gone and you're back to square one again.
If I could, I would have taken part of that $20,000 and found and paid for a true mentorship to somebody that's really killing it and doing things and done it. Because what I ended up doing was, so remember, I came from nothing. So I spent it.
What did you do? What did you do with that money, man?
I was like, I had $20,000 in the bank account. I had never seen that much money. I was like, I want this, I want that.
What did you do? What did you spend it on?
Let's see. I took a trip to New York.
All right.
So that was a couple thousand because I took my wife and I took my daughters to New York. So, I mean, I'm grateful because I went to go see my family. I hadn't seen them in about 3 years. My daughters got to meet their cousins, and it was fun. What else? I think I bought an Xbox 360. I bought I
cash.
I was like, I want it, I got it. I want it, I got it. I was like, I'll get another deal. And then I did some marketing too. So I budgeted for a couple more months of marketing and everything.
So you invested back into the marketing, so that was good. So it's always good to talk about the first deal and where it comes from and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, you took action, you made that happen. Now what does your business look like? And everybody get ready to be blown away. How does your business look now compared to, back then?
So now we have 2 acquisitions agents. We have 2 dispositions agents. We have 4 cold calling VAs. We have 4 admin VAs. And pretty much right now we're doing between 150 to 200 a month, 200K a month. Last year our gross revenue was 1.4 million was what we generated.
Wow! Everybody, give him a virtual hand and a real thumbs up. Give him some love, some likes, and some hearts for that, because that's awesome. Now, for people that are listening, and they're beginning, all right, and they're just hearing these terms. What does that mean when you say you have acquisitions agents? What are these people? Who are they, and what do they do?
So my acquisitions, what they do is they actually take all the inbound calls from our sellers from marketing, and they talk to them and negotiate and get the deals on the contract. Then the disposition guys, they're pretty much the sales team. Once we have it on the contract, they're the ones that work with the buyers, investors, and they work with them to move the properties and get them sold.
Now, what about from the acquisition side? Are they going out to the houses and meeting people, or are you doing this all over the phone?
All over the phone.
All over the phone.
Yep.
So you don't get that call that comes in and the seller's like, I've got, I've got 5 different other offers, some investors coming in, and yeah, you could probably, yeah, I think on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, you could show up. I'll just have somebody let you in, and you just come make me an offer. You ever get that?
Oh, we get that every once in a while. And so what we tell them is, look, we don't do bidding wars. So here, I'll give you this, and I'll give you this offer, and if this offer sounds good to you, let's lock it up right here. Let's not play any games. We're a very serious company. We're reputable. Check out our Facebook. You can see all our reviews, some testimonials from it. You don't want to waste your time with other people that might seem like they're going to close and then they don't. I'm giving you my best offer. I can't go higher. Even if I go and see your house, I'm not going to be able to go higher. I'm taking your word, and based off what you're telling me the property is this. We can lock it up, or we can just or I can just move on. I don't buy every deal that I come across, and so I have other properties I'm working with, and I'll go ahead and allocate the money to that property. So I kind of do a takeaway.
That's pretty good. So you steer it towards credibility is what you do. And you even tell them, if I come out to the house, I still can't do more. So now, are you afraid at that point, though, that you're like in my business, we call that setting the baseline. I mean, you're setting a baseline for somebody to come over top of you if you're not careful with that. Have you thought of that concept before?
Well, because we're not worried about it, because we tell them, hey, you have to give us an answer right now. We're going to lock it up right now. We don't let them think about it. We don't do anything, because then they're going to shop it around. If they can't give us a yes at that moment, then we move on.
So you're almost like Shark Tank. You're like, you gotta say yes now, or I am out.
Yep.
And that's the way you present it to them.
Yeah, I tell my guys, it's like you gotta be ready to walk away from every single deal, no matter what.
That's huge right there. You have to be ready and willing to walk away. You guys resonate with that. Give him a thumbs up, because that's huge. You have to be ready and willing to walk away, because a lot of times investors are so like, I got to get this deal, right? I got to get the deal. I got to make it work somehow. But if you have the attitude and you're willing to walk away from it, sometimes that is really powerful. And if you don't believe me, watch Shark Tank. You guys watch Shark Tank? They go out there, the sharks are sitting there, right? And they're making offers right in front of each other. And Mark Cuban's like, you got to say yes right now. If you shop it, my offer's going down. Or they're just straight up out. They don't care, right? Because there's always another opportunity. That's right there. That's huge. Remember this, guys. There's always another opportunity. And if you truly believe that, you're not going to get hung up on one deal and get yourself in trouble because you offer too high.
Yeah, I mean, we do it. My agents will go ahead and we have a max price, right? So they're not allowed to go over that price. And if the seller doesn't work, then they'll tell them, unfortunately, we can't go any higher. We have other properties that we're going to allocate the money to. So if you change your mind, go ahead and give me a call. But just make sure you give us a call before, if it's in the middle of the week. So like today, make sure you give us a call by tomorrow, because it's towards the end of the month, and I don't want all the funds to be allocated, and then I won't be able to buy it.
Sure.
So we'll let them know that we walk away from the deal. And a lot of times we'll get a phone call we've gotten calls the next day, and the sellers are like, all right, let's do it. I'm ready. I'll do it. Like, we had a guy just recently, he called us and he was like, 160. I'll sell it for 160. And my guy was like, so if I can't give you 160, you're not going to sell it? He's like, nope, I'm not selling it if it's not 160. I was like, but he had been holding it, and, talking to him, we could find out his motivation was he was behind on some taxes. The property didn't even have drywall in the kitchen, and he was going to have to put it back together, and it had been sitting vacant. So we used that to our advantage, and my agent was like, look, I can do 149 right now. That's the best that we can do. We can't go up to 160. You can continue holding this property and paying out taxes, paying out on the mortgage on it, and it's just going to continue adding up. Or you can take this 149 offer right now and cut your losses. We're not too far off, and let's get this deal done so we can get this headache off your chest. You want to retire. You guys want to use the money for something else. Why continue waiting and stuff? And he's like, he's like, I can't do 160. And so my agent was like, all right, well, if you change your mind, give us a call back. He's like, I'll talk to my wife. Called us back the next day, and he was like, can you do 155? And my guy was like, no, I can't do 16. I can't do that, but let me see if I can do something. Let me talk to my underwriter and see if I can get you a little bit more. And we always leave a little bit of wiggle room, even in our max. When we give them our max, we still leave a couple thousand there just because we know people always want to negotiate. So he came back, and my agent was like, okay, we can do 151. And he's like, can you do 152? He's like, no, 151. And he's like, all right, we'll come by. I want to come by to your office, though, because I want to meet you guys. I want to make sure you're legit. I want to meet you who you are, and I want to make sure you are going to close. And he was like, sure, go come in. So the next day that he came in with his wife, we sat down, read the entire contract. We actually ended up using the realtor contract just because my agent recognized. So we have our own off-market contract, which is very condensed, very, very
pager, right?
Huh?
A one-pager, essentially.
It's 3 pages, but we had an attorney draw it up, and pretty much it's very weighted towards us.
Okay.
Like we can. It's very, very towards us and not as much to the seller. But my agent was like, hey, he's very like wants to make sure everything's legit. I think we need to use the FAR bar contract. And I was like, okay, fine, no problem. We'll use the realtor contract, which is bigger, but it looks more legit and has different. It's kind of even towards the buyer and the seller in the language of the contract. And we want to make him more comfortable. Don't make him feel like we're going to screw him or anything, which we weren't. But we want to do everything possible to make him feel very secure in the transaction and going with us. And he came in, read it, signed it. The next day, we sold it for, God, what is it? Sold it for 170.
Wow.
So we got it for 151 and we sold it for 170.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Great deal. So when you were looking at that, right, do you ever feel like when you're talking to a seller that you're like it almost seems like too fast, like you made the offer too fast? Like they call in and they're like, yeah, how much can you do for my house or whatever, and you come out and you put a number on it. You kind of have to walk them through a progression, don't you, to get to the point of the offer, or else they'll feel like, wow, you just threw a number out there too fast. How, this doesn't seem like a serious offer. Like, you guys have a progression you walk them through?
So we have a script, and each call goes through the script of, hey, we set the expectations, then we have conversation about the condition of the house. After that, we move into the motivation section to find out their motivation. And from there, then we go into the negotiation tactics, right? So we use the comps so we pull comps. So my agents pull comps while they're on the phone with them.
Okay.
So while they're talking to them, asking them about the condition of the house, about how many beds, baths, information like that, when the roof was done, when the plumbing was replaced, while the sellers are answering those questions, my agents are also at the same time running comps on it. And like I said, I've ran so many comps. I can give you an ARV on a property in about 3 minutes, sometimes less. So I've taught them how to do that, and usually within that time frame, they're able to. And we have calculators and different systems that they plug the numbers in, and really all they need to find out is just the ARV. And then we have a set formula for our rehabs based on the condition of it. So if they say we use a price per square foot formula. So if they say, hey,
really?
The roof.
So that's how you came up with the offer on that property. Like, use that property as an example. How did you know where you needed to be on that property? Like, you never went out there, right?
No, never went out there. So like he told, we asked him, hey, what's the condition of the roof? And he was like, hey, I replaced the roof about 8 years ago. Cool, roof is good. All right, what about the AC? He was like, I replaced the AC. The AC needs to be replaced. The plumbing's good and the electrical's good. All right, so really we just have to fix one of the major ones, which that falls into $25 a square foot, a medium rehab. And so from that, so then what we do is we take the square footage of the house times $25, and it gives them a rehab number. So they got the ARV, they got the rehab number, they just plug it into a computer, and then we have a minimum return that the invest. So most flippers want to make between 15, 20, and then different markets they go down to like 7. So like in California, they're like 7, 8%.
7%. That's absolutely nuts.
It's insane over there. But it's very important for you to understand the market. So I look at patterns. So when I was sending out 20, 25 offer, I was analyzing 20, 25 properties on the MLS, I started noticing a pattern in the deals that I would sell, right? So in Orlando right now, buyers are around 12%. Some buyers, right, 12 to 20. So I try and stay at 15 on the ROI.
So you're making offers based on your formula, not based on what other properties are selling for. Is that correct?
Exactly. So once they find the ARV, they plug it in. They find the rehab based on that estimate. They plug it in, and then at the bottom of the calculator, it tells them what the investor would make. And so then they play with the sales price of it, right? So as long as it's 15 or 14 point something, close to 15, then that tells them the price that we'll be able to sell the property. And then what we do from that back, so then we work backwards and we add our spread. So the initial offer that we do has to calculate to 20% ROI at the bottom, and it has to have a $20,000 spread on the wholesale fee, right? So how can I?
You just put 20,000 on everything.
So we always start 20,000 now, and that's our initial. That's how we come up with our initial offer. After that, if it doesn't work, then they're able to go down to 15% on the ROI, and our spread can go 15%. So that usually adds about another $15,000 to $20,000 on our offer that we can go up to. So we're in that range, but we give them the low offer. We listen for feedback to see what they give us. And then from there, they're able to use sales tactics. If they say, "Oh, absolutely no, that's way too low." Okay, well, what price can you do? And then we try to get a number from them, right? Or if they say, "Oh, okay, well, that sounds kind of close." So like yesterday, one of my agents had a guy that wanted $100,000, and our initial offer was like 60,000, like somewhere in the 60s. So I told him, don't do the 60 because you're going to insult him. It's too big of a range. It's too big of a range. He's not going to want to deal with you because you're lowballing him. I was like, what's your high number? What's your max? And he was like, oh, my max is 82. I was like, go with the 82. It's not that much lower. Actually, no, I think his max was 87. So I was like, go around 82. It's not that far off from 100. It's reasonable, and he'll be more receptive to your offer. And so he's like, okay, let's call him. He's like, hey, I can do 82, 135 because we always use an odd number. And the guy was like, oh, that sounds reasonable. Okay, give me about 2 days. Let me think it over, and I'll call you back. And he was like, all right, cool. So that potentially right there, I mean, we looked at comps, and it's around $185,000 on the ARV. So we'll be able to sell that one for about 105.
Wow. Yeah. So the cool thing about this all is your offers, the way you're making offers is interesting, right? Because you're making it based off the ARV. I've heard some people say, no, just look at what people are paying on the wholesale side or on the as-is properties on the MLS, and then you've got a decent number to work with, right? However, the market we're in is kind of an escalating market, right? So as the ARV goes up, people are going to be able to pay more as opposed to what they might have paid even just a few months ago. So that's really good to be watching the ARV.
So we've discussed about using that tactic, and the reason we don't use it is because, and I don't know if it's just in Orlando, but the reason we don't use it is because a lot of times we'll find that the cheapest, cheapest cash sale is $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 above the price that we need to sell it for. And it's different variations. It might be that investor is just oblivious to what really numbers are. Because you're looking at the MLS, right? So it could have been that it's a realtor that doesn't know how to assess rehab, doesn't know how to run numbers, and this buyer bought it for too high. So if you look at it and you're like, oh man, I can sell it to a cash buyer for this price, and then you call that cash buyer and he's like, or it could be that cash buyer is tapped out. That's the only one. Next thing you know, you start calling other people and they're like, nah, that's too much. Nah, that's too much.
Yeah.
Now you've got a deal in your hands that you can't sell because you've overpriced it.
Right. Based off somebody else's mistake.
Exactly. So we run numbers backwards. We get the ARV, we add the rehab, we take into account commissions when they sell it, we take into account closing costs when they sell it, closing costs when they buy it, holding costs too, like insurance and different things. And we have it in our little calculator that we use, and that already populates it. So we kind of have like a set number. It doesn't really change too much here and there.
I've got a calculator as well that I use with my coaching students. I actually call it my cash buyer perspective calculator. And what it does is you plug the ARV into it, and it takes out the percentages for like realtor commission, for repairs, holding costs, percentages, and stuff like that. And then it shows you what that investor would be left with, and then allows you to plug in like in a wholesale assignment to see if that's something that would still line up with their percentage. So that's really interesting that you do that with using the ARV, because like I said, I've heard it where people just look at the sold properties for as is prices, but that can come to bite you in the butt, whether it's on the leaving money on the table or putting yourself in a position where you're just basing your comp off a stupid investor, right? So you got to be careful with that. And for you guys listening, how do you guys determine it? Do you guys do it off ARV or do you do it off closed MLS properties? Go ahead and post and comment and let us know. Okay, so we talked about a little bit of acquisitions there. And the main reason we've got you here is for dispositions, right? So when you're talking about acquisitions, thanks for all those good tips there. Now, that same deal that you were just talking about, right? We're moving it into dispositions. And again, dispositions is when we are getting rid of our property, whether it's the contract, whether we bought and closed up the property and sold it that way. But now we're getting rid of the property or the deal. What do we do? How do we get the most for it? What's the process?
All right. So once the property, we have a price on it. We what we do is we do so each agent has their own buyers list, right? So each agent has their own buyers list. They build their relationships with these buyers and everything. So what we do is then we do a MailChimp, right? So we do an email blast with all the information. We have a really nice flyer. A lot of times we'll do video too. So I'll quickly edit a video and I'll put it up on my YouTube and stuff like that. And then we'll send the link and attach it there so people can do walkthroughs can do like a visual walkthrough of the property. And that actually has helped us so much to sell because majority of our properties we sell sight unseen. I mean,
now that's interesting. Sight unseen. So you're not doing the mass showing, if you will, which can get a little crazy, or doing the mass or the onesie twosie walkthrough, and then like, okay, Mr. Seller, I need to blah 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 blah. Oh, Tuesday work for you? No. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? No. Oh, can I get a key? No. Yeah.
So
the whole thing. We lost Mr. Marin. I think he'll be back though in a second. We were talking about acquisitions. We were talking about dispositions. I think maybe there he is. He's back.
Okay.
So we're talking about dispositions and the whole situation where you're doing that dance with the buyer or the seller, whatever it is, and you're playing games. So what's the best way to do it so that way we don't end up in that mess?
So we have different policies depending on the situation of the house, right? So if the property's from the MLS, we have the inspection period is really our time to sell it, right? So we usually get 5 to 7 days, sometimes 3 days, sometimes 10 days. So within that time frame is the entire time we have to sell it before we lose our EMD. So if we can't sell it during that time, we bail. So because of the quickness that we need to sell it, we do first come, first serve, right? So our agent will blast it out to the investor. So what we do whenever a property goes out is we blast it through the email, Then we text message all our investors, right? So we text blast all our investors with the link to the property, to the flyer, so they can look at the information and a phone number. Then after that, we post it on Craigslist, we post it on Facebook Marketplace, we post it on everything that we can do. I think we're doing Bigger Pockets and connected investors, but I'm not sure. I don't run the disposition side. My other partner runs it. I run the acquisition side. So I don't know exactly what he's doing right now. But so we send it all out, right? So if it's on the MLS, and then our agents, they go and drop signs for it, right? So they make about 10 to 15 signs a day for each individual property, and they go and drop signs for it. So
wow.
Usually by then they filled up a buyer's list, and they start getting calls. If they want to go see it, then they run out the office and they go show it, because they're usually vacant, and we have the lockbox code, or it's on electric lockbox, since we are a real estate brokerage, so we're licensed. Everybody's licensed here, so they all have access to the MLS. So I'll run out, and it's first person to get a check, get a contract signed and a check, and we use Hangouts, so they have to post a picture of the contract and the check, and they're there. It's their deal. They've sold it, right? Now, if it's an off-market deal, because in an off-market deal, we usually have about 30 days to sell it. So we have more time. We're able to do different things. So if the property is vacant, we usually ask the seller to give us a key for the property. We tell them, hey, look, we're going to have a couple contractors to come in, do measurements for the property, because what we like to do is as soon as we close on it, the next day we're bringing a dumpster in, we're starting the demo. I'm sure you've seen the TV shows and how they do it. Yes, we really do it like that. So we like to get the measurements so we can order cabinets and everything. Also, we partner up with a lot of different people from all over the world. So we have a couple of investors coming in that we partner, and they kind of want to see the deals that they're putting their money into. So we're gonna show them this deal because we think this is gonna be a great deal that we got. So do you mind giving us a key so we're not bothering you here and there and stuff? A lot of times they're cool with it, right? Because
now you do, on the flip side, you also did. I just saw you did a rehab, right? You bought, fixed one up, sold it. So you do buy and then fix and resell as well.
Yeah, we do. We do flips. We do rentals. And so we do everything.
So you have the option whether you want to close on something or you're going to assign it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we always have an exit strategy for everything. We also do hard money lending, and we also have a property management company. And then and then our brokerage also, we also have retail agents.
Hitting it from all angles.
so like I told you, I don't know if I told you at the event. So our company is to be able to hit an investor. So this is the perfect scenario. We get the wholesale deal, right? So we get the wholesale spread from the investor. Then we can do the project management for him because we have our crews. So we'll do the project management, add about 15% on there of the rehab, make a little bit of money there. Then we can list it for them on the back end.
That's huge. So you're actually teaming up with the buyer who's coming in, and you're saying, listen, you want to buy this? We'll fund you. We'll also manage the project and list it for you when we sell it.
Yep. And if it's in a rental, then we'll sell it to you. We'll lend you the money for it. We'll go ahead and do the rehab for you. And then, hey, here's our property management company that will then manage the rental for you.
That's awesome.
But the good thing about it too, because it's a little different than the turnkey models. A lot of the turnkey models, you buy the property, you hold it, you fix it up. We don't buy anything. The buyer buys it. So we've broken everything up. But
so the main reason, like I said, we got you here for was disposition. So what would be the main key on disposition that you would talk about that is it gets you the most that you possibly can for the deal with the least amount of hassle, would you say?
All right, so back to the disposition. So if it's an off-market deal, right, if we have access to it, then what we do is the moment that we have the first access to it, right, the first time a buyer says they want to go see it, we do 24 hours from that point on, and we'll take all offers. We won't do first come, first serve. You can submit your offer, and we're going to take the highest offer. Now, what we don't do is, a lot of people call it a bidding war, but we don't do a bidding war because we don't call the buyers back and say, hey, well, we got an offer for 160. Do you want to beat it? That's what they don't like, right? We just say, hey, we're selling this house for 160. You tell me what you want to offer. And we've had offers where people are like, oh, I'll offer 145, 147. Another person will come in at 160. And then what ended up happening was when we implemented it, a lot of people didn't like it. So we lost a lot of buyers, but we kept going. And it ended up changing people's mindset because we were putting out such good properties. So because of the minimum requirement, and what ended up happening was buyers were like, man, I don't want this to go to a group showing. I want this property. I'll give you $1,000 over. I'll give you $2,000. And then now it's gotten to the point where buyers have lost deals because we tell them afterwards, like our buyers like, hey, yeah, you lost it by 2,000. You lost it by 5. And so you lost it by 10,000. And now we're at the point where buyers have lost deals so many times that they're like, look, I'll give you $10,000 above. I'll give you 15 above. I know this is a good deal. I'm tired of losing it, and everything else I see is shit. It's like, I'll pay you 15. I'm still gonna make a deal.
It's your rules, and they're playing by it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of you be like, hey man, I got a deal, and then they feel like they got you because you're coming to them first and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So like I tell my team, I'm like, buyers ain't loyal, bro. Buyers ain't loyal, man. Just because you build a relationship and you got these pocket buyers, VIP buyers, and you're like, oh my God, he'll buy everything. The thing is, you got to think of as an investor, right? And a lot of people get dependent on 5, 10 different buyers. And what happens when you get a deal that you really need to sell and they're tapped out on money or they just don't like the deal? That buyer isn't going to come in and be like, you know what, man, we've got such a good relationship with you. Yeah, I'll take a hit on this one, and I might not make anything on it, and I'll buy it for you just to hook you up. No.
Oh man, I got you, man.
Ain't no buyer gonna do that. Shoot, I wouldn't do that myself. I'm gonna make sure it's an investment. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make money. So from that, I was like, look, there's no need to be dependent on 5, 10 buyers. We need to just get as many buyers as we can. And we need to allow everybody to be able to have a decent offer too, because a lot of times, so one of my agents might be in the office and he gets a heads up on a property and calls his VIP buyer and is like, hey man, it's going to go for 160, like give me a check and I'll get it. And then the other agent was out dropping signs or in a business meeting with a new investor, showing them how to use hard money to leverage, and they didn't get a chance to do that. Now they lost out on their deal, right? They lost out on the opportunity. And we didn't think that was fair because on the culture, people would be like, oh man, this is, they're taking advantage of me and stuff. So we want to make it even. So that's why we put in 24 hours for people to go ahead and make an offer.
Yeah.
So all our agents get an equal opportunity to be able to sell the deal. And then, so if the property is occupied, we do a group showing, right? So if the property is occupied, then we get with the seller, we set a time, usually about 3 to 5 days after we get it on after we blast it out to our investors, we'll set up a showing with the buyer for about 3 days. And so what ended up happening was that buyers hate group showings, right? And we're like, hey, look, we have limited access. We can't be having you come in at 3 and then get another access at 5 and stuff. Like, you just got to do a group showing. If you don't like it, then you know what? Go find another deal from another investor. I got thousands of investors. So like I said, walk away from a deal on the acquisition side. You got to be ready to walk away from a deal on the buyer side. And when you get into that mindset that I don't need you, your deals will explode because you just won't care at that point, right? You won't be desperate.
But don't care.
Yeah, I need you, but I don't need you, really. So what ended up happening was these buyers, we started having group showings, and they would see like 7, 10, 12, 15 investors, and buyers were like, I don't want to get to that. And so then they're like, look, I see the video, or I've seen the pictures. I kind of did a drive-by. It looks good to me. I'll give you $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 over. Just don't let it go to the group showing. So now we'll set a group showing, and what usually ends up happening is the buyers will get like 2 or 3 buyers are like, I don't want it to get to showing. I want to buy it. I'll pay you this much over. So whenever we have a group showing, we have it 3 days out, but we'll take sight unseen offers for, again, 24 hours. And usually we get enough offers for it. And if it's above asking, we'll then vet the buyer to see if he had who the hard money lender is too, or if
it's important.
Because it is important. There are some hard money lenders that we will not work with. So I will not sell a house to Lending Home.
Yeah.
And the reason, and I will do Lending One, I won't do Lending Home. The reason I don't do Lending Home is because Lending Home has delayed closings multiple times, has come back with a low ARV that has then almost tried to kill the deal. So we refuse to, if you say that's your lender, we're like, nah, man, we're going to go with the other guy. Even if it's cheaper. Yeah. Even if he's offering less, because I'm not going to put our deal at risk on this lender that we know always has huge bad issues. I'm not a big fan of California lenders. They're always, not to say anything bad, but every time we've had an issue, they're usually based out of California. They just work differently over there.
Well, very cool. I mean, this is great advice, man. I mean, from the acquisition side to the disposition side, it's amazing, right? It's almost like you said, you know how like a timeline, like a foreclosure date motivates a homeowner to where they have a timeline, they got to make a decision. It's kind of like the same thing. You're setting like a foreclosure date. You're like, when it gets to the group showing, man, I can't tell you much, so you better do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
So that has really led to now we sell, our buyers are $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 above asking on majority of our deals, because and one thing too we do is we are fair. So we have had a couple recently where the highest offer was above asking and that buyer didn't perform. So once the 24 hours are over, then they get a 24 hours to sign the contract and give us the EMD. And we've had buyers that just are like new and they don't understand the process and wholesaling or, different reasons. And they're like, hey, I'm having issues. I'm kind of cold feet. And they were like, all right, well, we'll move on to the next one. And we've actually sold it. We've sold it for less than what we were asking because that was the next offer. So we are fair in that point. We don't call back the guy that put in a lower offer and say, hey, you're the next up. Can you go up to our asking price? We don't do that. It's like, so our buyers have
that's it.
Yeah. So like one we were selling for 59 and we had an offer at 55, 57 and 65. The 65 offer, he didn't perform within the 24 hours. So we went to the 57. The 57 was like, hey, I just found another property and I put a down payment, so I'm tapped out. We're like, okay, so we went down to the 55,000 and he ended up getting it. He was the third offer. And we just like, hey, it's yours.
Hey, congratulations.
And he was like, yeah, I still want it. Send me the contract. And we're like, all right, cool. We'll send it to you at 55. Like, we don't negotiate once people get an offer. And that's made it a lot. Buyers feel comfortable and fair that we're not trying to create a bidding war and bid them up. It's a different process to sell the properties.
Man, that's awesome. This has been some really good content. If you guys appreciate this, give him a thumbs up. We've been at this about an hour now. And before we go, I just want to ask you, what would you offer some quick advice to somebody that's just getting started in the business?
If I were to give you an offer, one, find a mentor. Find somebody that really is doing deals out there and lots of deals. And become a mentor. Two, get ready to get your ass kicked because it is not easy. You're going to have trouble. So if your mind isn't right, so I meditate daily. I go to the gym and I do a lot of things because just because you get to a certain level, now you got new problems, right? Like,
dude, I'm going to show you something, right? And it's because of the interview I listened from you, actually. You ready?
Yeah. I love that one, man. That's an amazing book. That's a great book.
It just happened to be right next to me. I started diving into it, but I haven't done it yet. But that's interesting, like what you were saying there, because the mindset is everything, right?
Yeah, mindset is everything because it's not gonna happen overnight. You're gonna have failures. You're gonna have deals that don't close. It's just not gonna work out. You're gonna have months where you're just nothing seems to be going your way. And if your mindset is like I've even been in there where I'm just like I've gotten like depressed, like, man, I feel like I just failed. Like I don't know what it is. Like it's just not going my way, and it's weeks and months. And but you have to be like, okay, I can't just sit here and cry myself or waddle in my pity. It's like, all right, what do I have to do to make this? What were my mistakes? What did I do wrong? How do I fix it and make sure this never happens? And how do I move forward? So like recently we had an entire disposition team either quit or we fired them.
Wow.
And I had to get back on the phone.
They did the same thing to you as you did to them, right?
Yes, they left. I know.
It goes around.
But that's why I said I don't hire anybody else that wants to do wholesaling, because the people that were there were people that wanted to do wholesaling and wanted to do investing, and then they kind of learned and they're like, I can do this myself. Peace. I'm out.
Yeah.
They kind of left us screwed. So now I'm like, you got to never have done real estate. You got to have no interest in real estate. I just need people with sales skills. You have to have either car sales.
I'll say something about this book, right, real quick, is so it kind of approaches things, and by the way, it's by this guy right here. It approaches things from what I would say like a godless aspect from what I've read. Like it almost seems like it doesn't really refer to God. It refers to the universe and stuff like that. So if you're a Christian and you're reading this, I would say, you could replace a lot of things like with universe, like God, and, just empty, mindless meditation with prayer and things like that. And that's something that can, so you could benefit from the book as opposed to thinking, wow, this thing like says nothing about God whatsoever.
Yeah. It definitely does not talk about God, but it does talk about a force, of, an energy that connects everything in the world, and in your soul and in your body, there is this energy that connects to the universe. And it even says in the book, some people call that force God, Allah, different names, whatever you want. But it definitely is not saying God.
So the book, somebody Michael's asking, is The Master Key System. I don't know if that shows us backwards, but it's by Charles F. Hannell. You just go to Amazon. You can grab it real quick.
And actually, a lot of people know The Secret. The Secret was actually based off that book.
Right. This was the original before The Secret, right?
And the good thing about that book is that you read a chapter a week, and then it has an exercise that you do. And that exercise actually teaches you how to meditate. And that's how I actually learned how to meditate, was from that book. Because I think the first week is you just have to sit still for 15 minutes. And it tells you you're probably not going to be able to sit still for more than 2 seconds. But
I tried. I was like,
but that's exactly how it was. I was like, and it's like I got to scratch. I got to, and what it actually the first chapter is, what it tells you is that, hey, for you to be able to control your mind, you got to first control your body. And you're not going to be able to do it right away, but keep practicing, and every day you'll be able to control your body longer and longer and longer. And when you can sit still, then you'll be able to control it's an awesome book, great book for you to control your mind. Because sometimes what I like to do is when my mind will get crazy with a lot of different thoughts here and there. So when I meditate, I'm able to sit there quietly and kind of just blank out and push out all those thoughts and keep it clean. And I'm able to say, okay, what is it that I need to focus on? I took the rap song out of my head. I took my daughter's complaining out of my head and everything. And it lets you focus really, really good. So I love that.
No, it's really amazing from that sense. And I will say, again, that was a really, really good tip, because, I mean, what you think about becomes your reality and it becomes your truth, right? So if you feel like you're failing, you are failing. If you feel like you're a success, you're a success. And if you can take away, like how is it possible, like for some people that are flying on a plane and the turbulence is happening, right? And you're like, and some people are scared, right? They're like, oh my goodness, we're going to crash. It's over. We're going to die, right? And then there's some people that are just sitting there like, right? There's a difference between people's truths on that exact plane, but the plane is doing the exact same thing. But because of what's going on in their brain is what's controlling their reality, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Some people are thinking it's all over. We're going to die. We're going to crash. And some people are just thinking, oh, this is just normal. These are just normal bumps in the road and we'll be fine, right? It's just, it really is. It's the same thing in life when things come around. And this is what controls that.
It is. And if your business is going through trials and tribulations and your mindset is, oh, I'm a failure. I'm never going to get this. This isn't working out. It's not happening. I can't get a deal. I can't get it sold. I suck. If you're attracting all those negative things, all you're going to do is just continue to attract those negative things into your life. So when you're negative, when things aren't going right, you need to be able to have strong mindset and strong willpower to be able to say, all right, I'm visualizing myself out of this darkness and where I'm going to be. All right, my business is going to be doing good. How do I get there? How do I make my business? What is the issue causing me right now to fail? All right, it's this. How do I fix it? Okay, this is right. What meditating does is it allows you to take a step back, relax, and truly see what the issue is in your business. And so mindset is very, very, very important. You can be meditating, you can talk to God, you can do whatever you want. Everybody's different, but you definitely have to be able to have some positive mindset and vision.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on for another hour about mindset.
Oh yeah.
But it's really so key because, you know, some people are like, man, my life sucks. I can't handle this. I got no deals. I got no money. I got problems, right? But it's very true that when you are successful, the pressure becomes more, right? Okay. Because now you're like, when is this going to end? And if this ends, I got all this stuff that's, you know, that these people are going to be let down. And the pressure just becomes stronger and stronger. I mean, that's why you see like big time football players and big time movie stars, they're depressed, right? Because they're crushed by the pressure of success. So yeah, I tell people you got to be grateful where you are right now in life, whether it's big money, little money, whatever it is, be grateful right now, because if you can't be grateful now, you're not going to be grateful in the future when it's all
exactly
you got what you got, you know?
Hey, just like my boy Biggie said, more problems, more money, more problems, man.
That's right. That's right.
Just because you run a big business, you might not be worried about getting your first deal locked up, but now you got payroll. Now you got people's lives that depend on you, and you still got to make it. You got your own lives to depend on you, you know?
Yeah.
Because now you've lived to this standard, and if something happens to your business and it slows down, because all businesses do slow down, they can so that you can expand. And if you're not ready, now you got a lot more weight and a lot more responsibilities. That's why so many people don't want to grow a big business. They're like, yeah, I'm good doing it by myself. I have a small team. And other people are like, yeah, I'll take the challenge. I want a big team.
And that's me. I go with the smaller team. I try to do less deals for more money because I actually buy and resell stuff and things like that. And I would rather do 4 $25,000 deals, make $100,000 in a month, and net 90% or 80% of it, as opposed to doing 100,000 and netting 20 to 30% of it. You know, so that's just the difference there. But even with a bigger business, you tweak and you make changes along the way. And, you know, you increase your net that you're going to take home and stuff like that. And that's why, you know, mentorship and stuff like that is really, really important.
Exactly. I mean, if you got to decide what kind of business you want. And if you want the big business, you got to realize that the big business doesn't have the payoff until way later down the road, right?
That's right. It's another mindset thing.
Exactly.
Well, man, I appreciate you being here. This has been really, really cool. I don't want to end it here, but I mean, we've been on here for an hour and 13 minutes.
Man.
But I want to tell you guys that are listening as well, if you are looking to get into the business, you are looking to get that first deal, or just looking for that pick me up to take your business to the next level, I've got an implementation program that I work with a few people every single month on with regards to getting started. We look at this business and we say, hey, if I was going to go into your market, me, Alex Joungblood, was going to go into your market, what would I do? And our first one-on-one call is exactly that. We get on the call and we say, okay, let's break down your market. Let's figure out how we're going to find these sellers. Let's figure out how we're going to get these other cash buyers and things. We put it all together and we go off to the races. We hold you accountable with group coaching calls as well as the ability to ask us questions along the way. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll post a link and you guys can check that out. So guys, I appreciate having Christian Marcel Marin on here. This has been awesome. I'm sure everybody appreciates all the information that you've given. This has been absolutely amazing. I'm going to post it as well in the group so you guys can check it out. Be sure if you're on the Wholesaling House's full-time page to share this post so that other people can check it out and hear what Christian has to say. Again, man, I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure being on here with you, man. I always love talking to you. It's always so fun.
Yeah, good to meet you, man. Again, online here. Good to see you. Thanks again.
Yeah, man, no problem.
All right, see you.
Have a good day.